Sakti Burman, 1935. Sakti Burman studied at Government College of Art, Calcutta and later at the École Nationale des Beaux Arts, Paris. Based in Paris for many decades, his work reflects the long-term influence of Europe. In his work, often exploring fantasy and fable, he brings together the feel of Italian Renaissance fresco with entire cave painting. For a long time, he has foregrounded the figurative which had receded from the art scenario in recent decades. India, though, continued to inhabit his work in the form of imaginary from the mythology or popular culture. Birds and animals dream imaginary and mythological figures, such as Shiva's son Kartikeya, alluding to as peacock riding man, a frequent occurrence. Burman is known for delicate marbling like effect in his painting discovered accidentally one day when water spilled on an oil canvas and caused a delicate filigree dispersal of oil, an effect he has been painstakingly recreating ever since. Incredibly, he brought the same effect to his print made in the early part of his career in Paris, achieving the marbling on the surface stone or wood or metal through laborious and time-consuming technical process in close collaboration, which his printmaker incidentally also employed by Pablo Picasso and Marc Chagall. The Fair Away Far Away song, all on canvas 2006 35 multiplied 45.7 inch 89.11.111 centimeter. Signed in English, Lower Center, Sakti Burman. Sakti Burman. Sakti Burman. I have set my goal high and known that even though I may never achieve it, I must go on making progress. Every new painting is a challenge for me. The pangs of creativity are not easy, but I hope as long as live, I will go on feeling them. Shakti Burman. Après le Theatre, appeared on canvas 1969, 57 multiplied 44.7 inch, 144.8 multiplied 113.5 centimeters. Sign and dating was lower right, Shakti Burman. Avinash Chandra, 1931-91. Avinash Chandra's parents wanted him to study engineering, unaware of his interest in art. Eventually, he took a diploma in painting from Delhi Polytechnics, where he also taught for a few years. Despite two successful shows in India, the arts in India couldn't hold his interest. In 1956, he moved to England, where he studied the language and technique of Vincent van Gogh and Southey and drew his inspiration from European city landscape. Avinash Chandra recurrent themes has been female body. He began with elegant line drawing which evolved throughout the 1970s to implicit color drawing. Imaginary may played a vital role in his art but was introduced as part of a much larger experience in a wider context, employing the primitive truth. Chandra often used female anatomy to shape as though suspended in a space invaded by heliocentric forms. Avinash Chandra was the first Indian artist to exhibit to one of the most important art events worldwide, the Documenta in Castle, Western Roman 1964, widely collected, especially in the museum in the UK. He won fellowship in 1962 the John D. Rockefeller Triumphant and Fairfield Foundation. Landscape all on canvas 9. Cloth 1955 32 39.5 81.3 multiplied by 120 centimeter. Untitled all on canvas 1967 929.7 multiplied 38.5 inch 75.4 multiplied 98 centimeters. Signed and dated in English lower right Avinash 67. Avinash 67. Jogan Chaudhary 1939. Hailing from a village in present-day Bangladesh, Jogan Chaudhary moved to Calcutta following partition. The children of brothers Das Gupta Chaudhary worked in a confident expressionistic style of figuration in his early years. His world was full of livid men with bellies like snap and women with loose hanging. His gallery of the grotesque. Over the years, his pictorial language has undergone a radical change. Over the years, his pictorial language has undergone a radical change. A 3-year sojourn in Paris forced his creative thought process as he worked to arrive at a distant to personal style. Chaudhary interprets the human form as simplified, as if through X-ray vision, attenuated, exaggerated, fragmented, reconfigured, rephrased, thus intensifying its visual and conceptual expression. For Chaudhary, the body has to communicate in silence, often placing them against a dark, vacant background. It does not appropriate the specificity of the place on environment. Instead, he transfers feeling of anguish onto the solitary figure through his gestural mark making. His deep, dense, cross-hatched lines, timid body hair, and web of veins takes away the smooth sensuality of the classical body to manifest the texture of life. Chaudhary believed art in India is neither subsumed in the miniature tradition nor those of Ajanta. For India is neither a monolith nor static entity, and that a notation of Indianness should not be fixed into some kind of timeless group. He has been awarded the Madhya Pradesh government Kalidas Samman at second Havana Biennial in Cuba. Chaudhary lives and works in Calcutta and Santinica, and was most recently elected to the Rajya Sabha of Indian Parliament. Jogan Chaudhary. Jogan, The Handsome Gentleman, Brush Pen and Ink and Pastel on Paper 1992, 11 multiplied 14 inch, 27.9 35.6 centimeter, dated and signed in Bengali, upper right, 1992, Jogan. Man and woman with yellow and grey. Pen and ink. Pastel on paper, pastel on cardboard 99. Pillar multiply 15 inch 27.9 multiply 38.1 centimeter. Initially and dated in English lower right Joe 90. Sunil Das, 1939, a student of a government college of art, Calcutta. Sunil Das would later also study at Ecole Nationale Supérieure des Beaux-Arts in Paris and with William Hyder Krishna Reddy at the City Atelier 17. Known for his iconic drawings of bull and horses, Sunil Das painted across several areas, each one distinct and to which he brought his singular vision. F.L. Souza once said of the artist, his paintings are often both about death and horror. He is a master of horrific in art. Thus, image of the bulls were inspired by his observation during a trip to Spain, and the horses were from it not at Calcutta race course, then at the stable of Calcutta Mounted Police, where the artist spent his time observing and sketching the animal. His flawless drawing captured their speed, power, and energy. It became symbol of the energy, aggression, and power of modern time, and of the artist's own untamed youthful spirit and sense of aggression. Sunil Das emerged on Indian art scenes as a painter with an astonishing repertoire of technicals and formal capabilities. In his subsequent works, whatever the subject, Das has poured himself and obsessively on the canvas. He never hesitated while experimenting with the techniques, medium and style, challenging his image with new ideas. Das has won medals and awards including from the state government and the Lalit Kala Academy, and has been part of jury and art body in India, France and Brazil. He lives and works in Kolkata. Horses. Conte on paper 1916 21.7 35.5 inch 55.1 multiplied 90.2 centimeter. This is second paper 1952 22 35.5 55.9 90.2. San and later Mumbai over at Sunil Kumar Das 1952. Pradosh Das Gupta 1912 to 91. Born in Dhaka, Pradosh Das Gupta graduated from Calcutta University before going on to study sculpture under eminent sculptor Hero Hironomoy Roy Chaudhary and D.P. Roy Chaudhary in Lucknow and Madras. A member of the Calcutta group, Das Gupta also studied at the Royal Academy of Art in London and École de Grand Chaumier in Paris before setting up his studio in Calcutta in 1940. He was appointed reader in sculpture at MS University Baroda, but returned to Calcutta the following year as professor of sculpture at the Government College of Art and Craft. Das Gupta refused to acknowledge any definite rule for contemporary Indian sculpture and thus searched for a sculpture form that would express contemporary ideas while preserving prana, the inherent life force installed in traditional Indian sculpture. He found his inspiration in the fluid rhythm and gliding form of Western master Rodin, Branco's Alps, and Ring, attempting to create form to express the pressure of energy thrusting outwards. The artist experimented with thought a form to explore the possibility of creating balance between form and content. And keen explorer of mood or sculpture expression, Das Gupta experiment with concept of instant sculpture went and within minute. A crucial point made by the artist was to keep his mind blank, thus setting free his intuition. Releasing it from the boundary of intellect, Das Gupta created his figure by physically engaging with the material playing in a lump of clay without any preconceived notation. The tactile process of action or flattening, kneading, and twisting the material resulted in a sculpture that evoked solidity and lightness of light, seen in both his figural as well as more abstract creation. सूर्यमुखी सूर्यमुखी bronze 29 73.794 48.35 of an edition of 5. Dharmanarayan Das Gupta 1939 to 97. Hailing from the hilly region of Tripura, Dharmanarayan Das Gupta remained almost entirely within the fold of Calcutta art world. He trained at Santiniketan and received a diploma in fine art and craft 1961. Das Gupta in his work was eclectic, perhaps even more than his contemporaries. By the last 70, he evolved his hallmark techniques, where the primary medium was a special egg tempera on canvas, which he applied using a mouth spray for finish. His distinctive artistry evolved during the 80s in what the artists define as kind of satire, fantasy and humor mixed with the folk art. Das Gupta's painterly voyage was marked by an intimate understanding of human relationship, their pain and agony, joy and ecstasy, human wisdom. Das Gupta art contained remnant of the Babu culture, a legacy from the British art. As recurring motif, a voluptuous woman wrapped in a striped sari, at the time counterbalanced with a man similarly clad in dhoti and kurta, appear in association with a flying tortoise, tiger, bird, flower, or such objective as post, ways, or vintage cars, creating very peculiar vision of human sensibility. The figure and objective seems to be floating in a mental space where the gravitational pull is decided upon by the artist's own wishful thinking. they float, they glide, and they crouch, acquire various acrobatic posture, underlying the varied level of psychic ecstasy. In 1981, Dharmanarayan Dasgupta was awarded by the Birla Academy of Art and Culture, Calcutta. His works are held in several public and private collections in India and abroad. United Untitled Tempera on Canvas 1985 27.7 multiplied 22.0 inch 70.4 multiplied 50.8 centimeters signed and dated in Bengal. Lee Lower Right Narayan Das Gupta 85. Untitled Tempera on Canvas 1986 27.7 multiplied by 22.2 inch 17.4 multiplied by 56.4 centimeter. Signed and dated in Bengali lower left Narayan Das Gupta 86. Narayan Das Gupta. Narayan Das Gupta. K. Lakshman Gaur, 9740. Hailing from a rural background in Andhra Pradesh, Lakshman Gaur did a diploma in painting and drawing from Government College of Fine Arts and Architecture in Hyderabad. Hailing from a rural background in Andhra Pradesh, Lakshman Gaur did a diploma in painting and drawing from the Government College of Fine Art and Architecture in Hyderabad and post-diploma from MS University, Baroda. The shift to Baroda made him sensitive to the uniqueness of his rural heritage. By the late 1960s, he had evolved a distinct type that reflected a pan-natural scene in terms of spontaneous, uninhibited passion, unfettered by the puritanical ethics of urban middle class. The indulgence highlighted by intermingling of male and female, vegetal and animal form, along with a direct rural simplicity, charged his work with palpable sensuousness. Drawing upon the potent energy of his rural background, Gaud was able to embed those childhood memory and tribal vivacity within an urban framework. A master draughtsman, Gaud pioneered the art of printmaking and painting, excelling in the handling of a variety of medium, whether watercolor, gouache, dry pastels, clay, or metal. Outside India, Lakshma Gaud Lakshman Gaud works featured in the collection of the Masanori Fukaku and Glenbera Art Museum, Japan, and the Phillips Collection, Washington, D.C. He won numerous awards from the Lalit Kala Academy in 1960 and 1970 and has been much feted artist since. Lakshma Gaud lived and worked in Hyderabad. K. Lakshma Gaud 1940. Unite Untitled Acrylic and Graphites on Handmade Paper 1985 14.710 37.3 25.4 signed and dated in English lower right K. Lakshma Gaud in 1985 and signed and dated Telugu lower center K. Lakshma Gaud 1985. Untitled Acrylic and Graphites on Handmade Papers 1985 1497 9.7, 35.5, 24.6 centimeters. Signed and dated in Telugu. Lower right K. Lakshma Gao, 1985. K. Heba, 1911-96. It was during his studies at Sir J.J. School of Art in Bombay that K. Heba was drawn to Impressionism, although it was Indian classical art that remained a ceaseless source of inspiration. His early painting, landscapes and figural composition in the academic's mold, disciplined his hands and minds and led him towards his own style. Inspired by Ananda Kumar Swami discourse, Heba began exploring his creativity through the form of traditional Indian art found in Jain manuscripts, Rajputs and Mughals miniatures and the murals at Ajanta. In his drawing and paintings, Heba harmoniously blended the traditional form with elements of surrealistic and abstract art, strongly inspired by Amrita Shergill's manner of expressing her version of East through Western techniques. Heba's inclinations led towards Western art, and to explore it further, he left for Europe in 1949. This exploration brought him to the Académie Julian in Paris, where he studied painting under the Impressionist painter Professor Cavallis and later graphics at École Estienne. From 1964 to 75, he traveled extensively in Europe exhibiting his work upon his return to India. Heba experimented with medium methods and style for 2 years in search to find his own line, rhythms, and color, and even learned the classical dance form of Kathak in his attempt to understand rhythms. In 1976, Heba was elected a Fellow of Lalit Kala Academy, Mysore University, bestowed an honorary degree of Doctor of Letter on him. From 1953 to 73, he served as chairman of the Artists Centre Bombay and received the Padma Bhushan from Indian government 1989. Untitled, all on canvas 1958, 29.7, 23.2, 75.4, 59.2 centimeters, signed and dated in English, upper right, Heba, 1948. M.F. Hussain, 1913-2011. The name of M.F. Hussain is synonymously with the 20th century Indian art. Born in Pandharpur, Maharashtra, Hussain came to Bombay in 1937, determined to become a painter, sleeping on footpath and painting under the street light. A self-taught artist, he began his career painting cinema posters and hoarding. A self-taught artist, he began his career painting cinema posters and hoarding for a while, with making toys and furniture design. His pictorial concerns were tied to imagining a secular modern Indian art in a language that translated Indian composition culture into rich mosaic of color that were real, mythical, and symbolic all at once. As a member of progressive artist groups launched in 1947, he heralded a new freedom for Indian art in the post-independence decades. A peripatetic painter, Hussein was constantly on the move, covering both geographical and conceptual territories, and in the last 6 decades transited at the will between painting and poetry, assemblage and performance, installation and cinema. He experimented with text and image, worked as solo performers, and in collaboration with a team, painted alongside musicians in an effort to translate music illusioners into accurate of pigments and brushstrokes. He was awarded the Padma Shri in 1966, the Padma Bhushan 1973, and Padma Vibhushan 1991 by the Indian government. Well into his 90s, he continued to paint with undiminished passion, despite living in exile in London and Dubai, accepting the citizenship of Qatar. Having fled from India following obscenity case and death threats filed against him, Hussein passed away in London in June 2011. Entitled Mother Teresa All on Canvas, 52.7, 86.7 inch, 133.8, 22, 220.2 centimeter, in English lower right Hussein. Hussein. Hanuman 13. Watercolor and ink on paper 1981 1996, 32.0, 49.8 centimeter, title English lower left Hanuman 13, and sign and dated in English Hussein November 81. Facing page Ganesha Mahabharat series. All on Canon 9071, 3648 inch, 91.41, 21.9 centimeter. An inscribed sign in Hindi dated English lower left Mahabharat Hussein. Sentiment sign Hindi lower right Hussein. Untitled on oil on canvas 1970 50 26 127 60 66 centimeter. Sign in Hindi lower left Hussein. Padmini Mohini Shankini. Acrylic on canvas 1973. Title in Hindi upper centers Padmini Mohini Shankini. Padmini Mohini Shankini. George Keith 1901-93. Born in